what I've done in the past, is they're really easy. But I got a deal this morning from Remy, REMI, and they have a deal for $129 right now for 20 hours. So that's a pretty good price.
REMI.
REMI.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to
Even for your for A and B.
it has everything. It's you have 3 electives and 2 for A and B.
That photo ethics.
Go to that.
Cheers. Thank you for showing us. It is a great honor to be here with Dean. When I came to this company, I knew about him. He was a rock star legend that was fulfilling it. And what I was most impressed with was his generosity as a human to share what he's done to really build his business. So it's an honor to be here. Thank you for teaching. Every time I come and learn from you, I take away something of value. So yeah.
Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you. I think I've met almost all of you here, but if I haven't, I'm Dean. I work out of the west side, kind of probably Whalers Village is my office, although I'm hardly ever there these days. And but yeah, it's a pleasure for me to be here. I love sharing and teaching and learning. And so if there's anything that you guys have questions about, don't hesitate to jump in and just ask. Because I don't necessarily just stick to this subject, but there's things that you guys are stuck on and you want to talk about. Maybe towards the end we can cover some of that. Did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I'll do my first.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you guys, I'm not gonna steal Dean's thunder at all. I'm just gonna do the tech piece. So most of you know me, and we'll talk about when the Market Center tech trainer. And if I could just put a feather in Dean's cap. So Dean is like my guy. I love Dean. Whenever.
Especially,
No, I'm seriously.
you know, Margarita.
So he is so amazing. He's so knowledgeable about the industry, but he's also very open. So when he tells you that, hey, come and talk to me, I'd be more than happy to help you, he means it. A year and a half ago, I took him up on his idea or his suggestion that he's available to help me on my staging business. And I instituted everything he said, and that totally transformed my staging business. So he is so available to help. He's a wealth of knowledge. So listen, lean in on what he has to say. I'll cover the tech pieces, but you have a gem today. So I just wanted to let you know that. And he didn't pay me for it. And so we'll have the tech piece. We'll just talk about tech integration for the first 5 minutes, and then you will talk about the perspective on creating urgency. And let me turn this for you.
Oh, yeah.
So tech piece, and then hopefully everyone can hear us via Zoom land. So we'll first have the tech integration piece. We'll have perspective on creating urgency, be the expert, create a best buy list, do your homework, find it for them, facilitate decision-making, and the bottom line. But like Dean said, he's gonna deviate a little bit. Still gonna get those nuggets, but this is more of an interactive class, so take advantage of him being here. So for my piece, tech integration, I know you're excited about that. I am. So I will try to want to make it impactful for you. So I felt like this would be a great slide to include about stats. I love data. So a recent real estate industry poll took 1,000 homeowners as well as sellers and found the following. 57% said that technology their agent uses is important to them. So when you think about the Zillows and all those other places, tech is also guiding your clients, whether you're representing the lister or the buyer side. So it's important that whatever CRM, regardless if you're using Command or not, that you're leveraging it to all its full potential. So the second is about 30% said their priority was the quality of the agent. So focus on the quality. So as you are working your business, always take a step back and say, what am I adding value to my clients? How am I adding value to them? Focus on the quality, not the quantity. Sometimes newer agents get caught up in the quantity and not the quality of who they are and what they bring to the table. So buyers are also seeking a responsive agent to handle their transaction, even ahead of experience, expertise, and professionalism. So as long as you are responsive, You do what you say you're gonna do. You provide expertise and professionalism in how you deal with people. That's gonna set you apart from most agents. Meanwhile, sellers prioritize an agent with a track record of selling a home like theirs. So you have the difference between what a buyer is looking for in an agent and what a seller is looking for in an agent. Both buyers and sellers said they want an agent who works as an advocate on their behalf. So this is all stats. Tech must-haves, and then I'm done. So regardless if you're using Command as your primary CRM, client resource management, or something else, leverage, 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 leverage. You want to combine it with some sort of mobile app complement. You want to also make sure you have a marketing strategy for new and existing clients. So for those new clients, you want to have a strategic, simple, to the point marketing strategy as well as existing clients. You also want to have a buyer pipeline opportunity checklist. Show of hands, how many have that? Show of hands, maybe you didn't hear me. Nope. So I want to make sure that you do the follow this, because the thing is this. Let me show you. I'm going to pop up this screen real quick, and then I'll promise I'll get you back. You can have access to this. So I will make sure that everyone in this room has a copy of this. This is a buyer pipeline opportunity. This is for Command, but you can use it in any CRM. So you are being very strategic about in the watch category, in the nurture category, in the hot leads, doing those things consistently every single time so that you can be the professional, you can be responsive, and you can guide your clients through the buyer process. So I will make sure that everyone has a copy of that Google Doc. But you want to make sure that it's either in Command or whatever CRM that you have. So let me pop back out to here. Any questions? All right, Dean, there you go.
I just wanted to add one thing to what Natasha said, which was that, you talk about all these things that buyers are looking for in an agent and what they value most. I think it's important to keep in mind that most people just want to work with people that they like. I mean, and that's the truth. I always tell people, don't walk into a listing presentation and throw down a 50-page listing presentation and start going through statistics with people until you spend enough time with them to know that they actually even like you. Because they're not going to listen to any of that stuff if you dive straight into it. And all they're thinking about is, do they like you or not? You know what I mean? So don't rush in with these big, fancy 50-page listing presentations and throw them down. You need to first at least get to a point where you think that this person actually likes you and listen to what you're saying. And so I think ahead of all of this, it's important to remember that people work with who they like. So have fun and joke around, and I always get my people laughing as quick as I can, trying to tell them jokes. And I also study the people that I meet with. So then I go into a listing presentation, I generally know what they've donated to, what their business is. They love talking about things that they support with donations and things that they do in their personal lives. As much as you can find out about them, and like going straight into the meeting, I talk about that and how great they are until they sort of loosen up a little bit more, and then I throw down my pitch on what issue. Anyway, that's just an important thing to remember. I always go off topic, so you need to stop me if I do. Right? So, but this is an interesting class because it's so relevant to today. I mean, this is the perfect timing for this class because everyone's sort of sitting on the sidelines waiting and watching, trying to figure out whether this is the time to buy or not to buy. And the critical phase for us right now is getting people to the table. And so this class is probably the most relevant class that we're gonna be talking about, I think. Hang on, did we have perspectives? No, we missed the page. The challenge that we face in today's market with regard to creating urgency is, the media is such a great influence on people. Everyone's, the media is unbelievable. What the media is telling people is what ultimately becomes reality, because perception becomes reality at some point. So media is a massive influence on people today. They're all saying the same thing, which is what we're all experiencing in our markets right now, which is there's been a bit of a pause in the market, a bit of a stall going on. And so people are sitting around and waiting and watching. They also have a fear of paying too much. We've been through the best years in the history of real estate. the last 2 years. So to buy in today's market, for a lot of people, it's kind of a hard thing to do because they know they're paying values that have never been paid before, and there's a good chance that our market's changing and the market will decline. Right, so that is a legitimate issue right now. Buyers don't have any sense of urgency, and agents that think it's not a good time to buy. And I'm going to pause right here because I think the truth is that people are buying homes, right? Because most of the time people buy based on events that happen in their life. Like if they retire, they have a change of job, they inherit money. Those are the primary drivers of purchasing real estate, right? Not the market. So that's important to keep in mind. But I want to stop there for a second. I need to see if I can go back to the challenge. I think the challenge for us is the last line, which is that many agents don't think it's a good time to buy. And I think that comes to mindset. And I mean, I always talk about mindset in everything that I ever talk about because mindset is the number one. It is the thing that makes a difference. You can do all of that, but if you don't really truly believe it, it doesn't work. So mindset to me is everything. And mindset has become like the most important thing in our world right now, particularly because we're in such uncertain times. And no one's quite sure what the market's going to do. And I just came back from mega camp, so I seem more fired up because of the But so they talked a lot about it. I was invited to a private class with Gary Keller, with a small group of people, and it was a class on how to be a CEO. And I was like, wow, that'd be a cool class. So I went and listened to him with a 4-hour class, and the entire time he talked about uncertainty. And that was the subject of the entire 4-hour conversation. Really interesting. And I think that I felt like he was talking to me. I kept looking around like, are you looking at me? Because uncertainty is the challenge I think we all face. And I'm famous for not dealing with uncertainty well. I have an incredible ability to go find another project that I know how to do well when I'm faced with one that I don't know the answers to or there's uncertainty in it. So for me, that's been my biggest probably block in my entire career in my life would be, I would say dealing with uncertainty, right? And but Gary kind of spent the 4 hours talking about uncertainty. It was so awesome because it was really completely applied to me. For me, when I get in an uncertain situation, I don't know the answer to the results, I tend to stall, I tend to avoid, I tend to look for other projects to do that I can do. Right? That's a kind of a natural thing. Most of us, many of us will have similar issues. And I think ultimately, if you're someone that's trying to scale up your business or trying to improve your life or trying to improve your business, you have to take on those uncomfortable spaces to get to the next level. Like I've been doing this for a long time and I hit plateaus along my career. And the way to get through the plateau to the next level is to take on the things that you've been avoiding and you're uncomfortable with. The things that I'm comfortable with and know how to do got me to this level. So if I want to get from 60 to 80 million in volume, I have to come up with new solutions and new ideas. But more than anything, I need to address the things that I've been avoiding and the things that I don't like to do, because that's where I've been improved. Some people shy away from that. So I've taken this completely new perspective on uncertainty, and I think Gary Keller gave us a great little chart, and I'm going to read it off to you. I thought it's so cool, it's so important. And something that's been a big stress in my life, and it's called, I'm a fixer. So if I see uncertainty, I try to fix it. And I think ultimately that's wrong. I don't think you need to do that, right? Uncertainty is what it is. It's always going to be uncertainty. And the space between uncertainty and certainty is probability, right? So what we have to do is we have to look at the fact that there's always going to be uncertainty, right? There's always going to be opportunity with that. And I think that uncertainty creates the opportunities. So I just wanted to touch on this new perspective that I have on uncertainty now. Something that was so stressful for me, right? So occupational uncertainty. Embrace occupational uncertainty, it's called destiny. Embrace emotional uncertainty, it's called joy. Embrace intellectual uncertainty, it's called revelation. Embrace spiritual uncertainty, it's called mystery. And embrace relationship uncertainty, and it's called romance. So it's kind of an interesting perspective.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's
I give you a copy of that too, but
yeah.
I stole that from Gary Keller's presentation. But these are all the things that cause us stress. And if you get stressed out, you get agitated. If you get agitated, you tend to avoid, and you tend to back up and like, I don't want to deal with that. And that's just, those are the spaces that are going to allow us to grow our business. For me, I look for any flaw that I can find and I'm going to attack it. And that's why I have a coach that I worked with for 4 years. And I would say the 4 years of my coaching has been primarily around avoidance, taking on, looking for obstacles, taking on the obstacles, putting them aside, moving on to the next one. And it's never ending. So the thing about uncertainty is it's always there. And the solution is not to try and fix it and make it certain. The solution is to get good at uncertainty. And it's always going to be hard. Look, it was hard from the day I started. And I always thought, if I could just get to this level, it'll be so much easier. I could just get these listings, it'll be so much easier. And it never gets easier. It's always hard. So there's just, it's a journey. So don't try to wait for something to get easy because you're never going to get there. What you really need to do is you need to get good at dealing with hard. And you need to get successful at dealing with uncertainty. Don't try and fix it or change it or correct it, or you're never going to get there. Because once you do, there'll be another challenge, right? But anyway, I thought that was really cool that he would take on this new perspective on the things that are the most distressful in our lives and turn them into what I would call it as I embrace uncertainty as an amazing adventure now. To me, I want that uncertainty because I want to attack it and I want to figure it out and create a plan and move forward. So how do you do that? Question. So you can actually build a plan around this uncertainty. What you need to do is you need to understand, number one, you need to understand who you are. So if I apply it to my world, I'm an individual agent. I'm a solo agent. I don't have a team. I have an admin, but I'm just an individual. That's what I am. I've always tried to change it. I always thought I could be a team. I could do it. No, I'm an individual agent. So I know who you are. I'm an individual agent. I know what you want to do. I know if I'm an individual agent, the studies have shown that 99% of the successful individual agents are listing agents, right? So individual agents typically are chasing listings because that's how you scale up as an individual. If you're in a team, you buy leads, you get buyer prospects, you chase buyers. That's kind of a team thing because they're buying leads, they're getting leads from someone, they're giving to the team, and the team's going to chase that down. So that's a team concept, that's a buyer's agent. And if you're an individual agent, if you have any desire to be very successful, you will do it through getting listings. Okay, so that I know who I am, I know what I got to do. I'm very clear on that. And as I said, the space between uncertainty and certainty is probability, right? So I'm creating a plan in this uncertain time, uncertain market that has the highest probability of success. I know I'm an individual agent. I know I'm a listing agent. I need to go farm and I need to drive listings and create listings. And I need to have a plan that has the highest probability of me becoming a successful listing agent, right? And so I'm very clear on who I am, what I want to do, how I'm going to do it. And then once I figure out that plan on what I'm going to do it, I become obsessed about it. And that's all I do. I focus on one project. Even though I said method before, know that all I talk about is hyper-focus. There's only so many things that you can do very well, and you need to pick the one that you're going to go with, and you need to obsess on it. And if you're not obsessed by it, then you probably don't have your priorities straight. You probably don't have your plan in place. But for me, I know exactly what I'm going to do, and I obsess on it and I go crazy until I get it done. And I think that's the way that we deal with uncertainty in the real estate, is knowing who you are, knowing where you want to go, building a plan that has the highest probability of success, and then sticking to the plan and just drilling down and going, but sticking, being consistent with it. That's staying the course. And don't be distracted by the shiny object. There's always going to be opportunities out there that sound good, but as I say, in uncertain times, you want to be focused on your plan and just be consistent with it. Sorry to go off on that whole tangent, but I think that not having the right mindset really means that none of this will make sense for you. Does that make sense? That's my pitch on uncertainty and mindset. But mindset is everything. I'm crazy enough to believe that I can manifest and truly believe, and I've seen this happen before, and I know it's possible that if you truly believe in something, you can actually manifest it and make it happen. Some call it luck, but I believe that with the right mental frame mindset, you can do it. It takes a lot of time. The solution, being experts on the market and the economy, that's a no-brainer. I just bought a property in Austin. And it was kind of interesting for me because I had to pick an agent, and I was like, what am I looking for? And I decided that what I was mostly interested in was someone who I could trust, and someone who had the local knowledge of the community. So local knowledge And being the expert on your market is probably the number one purpose that you have as a real estate broker. And that's easy. Study the inventory. Right? So listen to the buyers. That makes sense. I think we all make the mistake of talking too much. Paying attention to pricing and condition, match needs and wants, lessen fears about buying, that's a good one, and find good and reliable mortgage programs. So this is a little bit confusing to me. I went through this several times with, before I came here today, and it's a little bit interesting. A career growth initiative. It's sort of self-explanatory to me, but it sort of follows along if you go through the slides. And basically, it's our business, right? It's listing management, listings, it's a pipeline, it's your value proposition. I'm gonna keep scrolling through here, but career growth initiative. So listing appointments, listing taken, the wall of value is really the key here. That is your unique proposition, unique value proposition. What are you offering? What are you doing to make these things happen? I'm not sure where this slide came from, but this is the slide about you all in this class today. So there's a prisoner here that has to be here, doesn't want to be here, doesn't know why they're here, doesn't engage. Not sure if there's any of those here, but if there are, you need to raise your hand right now. The vacationer, I think you all feel like vacationers now since we have margaritas. But the explorer, right? So we're looking for explorers, obviously. Curiosity is my word for 2022. Because it gets us through those difficult times, the challenges, the avoidance, and if you stay curious about it, then you can learn and grow through it. Not sure where that came from. Be the expert. Invest. Yeah, so the top, activities for your dollar would be lead generation. That's kind of a no-brainer. If we don't have anyone to interact with or sell to, or to pitch to, then we don't have a business. So we need to figure out how to lead generate. And lead generate can be anything from farming for listings to, could be anything. Open house is a great lead generator. Lead follow-up obviously is key. That's probably where a lot of us fall short. Appointments and prospects, negotiating contracts, and then market research. So this is kind of interesting too, and it'll flow through as we go to the next slide. But they've done this example of what is in market and what is out of market. And this is just kind of a basic explanation of how it works. It's price versus the comps on the left side there, and on the bottom it's condition. So when the price is close to the comps, then you're in the seller's market. Right? It's selling close to asking. There's good activity in the condition. Doesn't really matter as much if the price is as close as possible. But that's a seller's market. And then this is the buyer's market, where the actual sales are much lower than the comps. So it's a little bit confusing. We're in a bit of a market like this right now. And the reason that this is relevant is because we'll use this as we move forward here to be able to create urgency with the buyer. You can create a list and show people that these are the in-market properties and this is the out-of-market properties, that you can have a group of properties that are in market based on this calculation, and that these are the properties that are going to sell. So we need to get on those properties right now and take a good look at these ones now, because these are the in-market properties that are going to sell. We're not worried about those other markets. So what we're doing is we're taking all of the market and then we're creating a little hub and telling buyers, this is what's going to sell next. So we need to go look at this. We're creating urgency, right? That's the value of what they're trying to do here. Is it a good time to buy right now? Always a good time. Mortgage rates are actually pretty good right now, even though they're at 5%. That's actually not a bad thing. 5% is actually really good. If you look at the average interest rate since 1972, which would be a 50-year projection, the average interest rate was just around 7% of that 50 years. And then if you take it from 1992, so 30 years, it's 5.6%. So we're kind of right back at the 30-year average, and 50-year average is even higher. So, we've just been at exceptionally good interest rates, which is not always an ideal thing. The artificially low interest rates that we've seen have been a result of COVID and not a natural cycle that really has actually disrupted the system and created inflation, right? So inflation was created by three main things. One was the Trump tax cut, which put a lot of money in people's hands. It was the Biden, handouts to all people that they gave all the money to, all the money that went up, and it was the artificially low interest rates. All of those three things generated just a ton of cash in the market. Right? So
You said some.
Trump's tax cut
Yeah.
created a lot more cash for people in people's pockets to spend. COVID, Biden gave out a bunch of money, right? Tons of money, with all free money, but that all free money was circulated into the economy. And then we kept interest rates artificially low, which made it so easy for people to go out there and borrow money and buy stuff. So all this influx of cash and low interest into the market, and that's just too much money into the market, and that creates inflation. So the perfect scenario really is 5% interest rates, I think. It's 3.5% unemployment, which is what we are now. We have 5% interest rates, but actually in a really great position right now. So part of the reason why they're constantly trying to get interest rates up to at least 5% is that when the economy slows down, the one solution that the Feds have to give a boost to the economy is to lower interest rates. So during COVID, when the interest rates were like 2-3%, they didn't have the luxury of lowering interest rates to spur the economy up. So they had to give a bunch of money away, and that created inflation. So as soon as they can, they want to jump that interest rate up again. So if the economy fails, they'll lower interest rates, and that should give us a boost out of it without having to spend the kind of money that we've seen there over the last couple of years, which ideally would not result in inflation. That make sense? Let's see, home prices have become more affordable, not really, but that's probably coming. Inventory is high. That would be a great time to buy. So we're just starting to see the beginnings of changes, but inventory is still very low. We're in an economy, I went to the mega camp, basically all the economists said the same thing, which is that we have no idea what's going on. This is the most confusing situation we've ever seen. Inventory is like the lowest we've ever seen. There's not, mortgage rates are good. And all these positive indicators are happening, except that there's also a stall and lack of activity going on. So there's sort of a contradiction going on right now. It's not a market that would seem like it's going to tank because you have such low inventory, right? So it just doesn't make sense for a lot of people. But I think ultimately we're in a bit of a pause in the economy, and I think it's just plugging along. Everyone's a little bit waiting to see what happens, but feel pretty strongly that the indicators of the fundamentals are still pretty good. The dust will settle, and there's probably going to be a small decline in values over the next few years. But ultimately, that's just part of the cycle. Raising interest rates slows down the buying, builds up the inventory, and we're in the cycle that, and the very beginning stages of the cycle, that's what they keep talking about shift. Strong economy, we have a strong economy. We have low unemployment as well. 3.5% unemployment is actually about as good as you can get, because anything that 3.5% is really just the people that are like transitioning between jobs and the stuff that's going on. But 3.5% would be almost like nothing. So we have super low inflation. Our economy is still pretty good. Inventory is still very low. Prices are actually trending up. Doesn't seem like a market that's declining, and that's the confusion that people are saying today. It's just what it is, and we keep playing it. So this is a good question. Here's one of the funny things that I hear people say all the time, and it makes absolutely no sense at all, that they're waiting for the market to peak, or they're waiting for the market to bottom out. And that actually makes no sense at all, because if you think about it, you don't know that the market's peaked until it's past the market and it's declined, and you look back and go, oh, that was the peak. So if you're waiting for the peak, you're going to be too long, because you won't know it's a peak until it's declined. Right? So you actually don't really want to go to the peak of the market. You want to go when there's an upward trend that you can still feel the trending up. And as long as that's happening, it's a good time to buy. But to say that you're waiting for the absolute peak or the very, very top of the market makes absolutely no sense at all. So part of creating urgency and buying, if someone comes in and says, oh, I want to make sure that the market's peaked, and you can use the explanation that that's impossible, that you would never know it's peaked until you have to peak. You're going to be buying in a declining market if you wait for the peak. So, does that make sense? So I think waiting doesn't always benefit you, because you're waiting for something that you're not going to know happens. Right? So it's a great way for me to tell my clients that you're waiting for something that's going to cost you money. Right? become the expert. Your local market is everything. I mean, people come to us because they want to know, you know, what's going on, what's the good area, what's the bad area, where's the best value, what's the most potential, where you can vacation rent when you can. So that's our number one job. I think there's really two main jobs, in my opinion. One is to know your local knowledge and one is to be trusted. That's exactly what people want from you. And the trust part of it is big, right? So it's becoming bigger and bigger. Not that it always isn't big, but it's becoming bigger and bigger because we're dealing with competition from computers. So Zillow's our competition, Amazon is our competition. They're all getting into real estate. But what none of those things can do, none of those machines can do, is that you can't trust the machine. You can't trust that a machine's going to know that it's a pigsty next to the house you buy, right? So there's a certain, it's called fiduciary, right? That's what we have, this obligation as duty of fiduciary. It's the most important thing that we have right now because our competition doesn't have it. So fiduciary is our superpower as agents, right? And we need to keep that in mind. That's why relationships are so much more important now than they were in the past. We're really trying to build on this relational part, because we're trying to separate ourselves away from the computers and the builders and the technology that's trying to take over our business. But that's our superpower. So trust, you know, working with people you like, those parts of the business have become much more important, and that's the fun part. Creative balance. So we talked about that a little earlier, Sasha talked about that. But this is a good thing, and I tell people, even when the market's not uncertain, in any market, as a local expert, you should know, if someone walks up to you and says, hey, I'm looking for a good deal, you know, you should rattle off something, you know, immediately. You shouldn't even need hesitation. If they say, I'm looking for a house, a condo in this area, that you want to know at least one that you can just throw down immediately to create a sense of urgency, right? If you say, I'll go back to my computer and I'll email you a list, no urgency in that, right? No, but if you tell them, hey, there's a house in Kahului that's listed for $1.9 million, it's 3 bed, it'll be perfect for you. That is the house. If I was going to buy something, I would buy that house. And they'll be like, I got to see that house. And then you're in a relationship with them and you continue and you go, I got to go back to my office and do a search for you. I think you lose them right there. And especially in an uncertain time where the sense of urgency is such a big part of our business. And that's why this path is so relevant. Oh. That's the margarita talking. Best buys could be anywhere, right? Arias. I mean, I think right now there's two things. One thing in my mind that sticks out right now coming back from MegaCamp, and that is that there's so many people on the sidelines waiting, watching, going to see what's going to happen. And I think that's, you know, being focused on the local communities, the local knowledge, and having that trust going to get you through this. So people out there still buying, and you don't know where these deals are coming from. The truth. Not too many foreclosures out there right now. Do your homework, know your market. But for me, it's just the key that someone walks up to you and says, you know, you're a key hay expert. You should know all the best deals that you get. The top of your head, immediate, and know every detail about them. Which is why the caravans are important. But seeing the properties are important. It's so much easier to preview a property than show it, having never seen it before. It's the worst thing for me. I do it. I look at all the properties. I just don't believe that you can sell them without seeing it. So know the product. That's the easy part. You could start today and be an expert in the real estate of the week just by knowing the inventory and selecting from the inventory some really great deals and going out there and pitching to people or anyone else who needs a picture. It's easy. But it's based on condition, you know, that's a big part of it these days, staging, condition. That's a big factor for people, not just price. Use your list and don't give it up. That's a good idea. So when you obviously, this is pretty standard stuff, right? When you're meeting with the buyer, in order to set their motivation and create urgency, you need to know all the facts about it, right? What drives them? What are their reasons for buying or selling? What's important to them? Advantages of home ownership. And if we don't know this one right now, then we're going to follow it. So obviously, home ownership versus renting, you're building equity versus throwing money away. You get the tax breaks of mortgage deductions. It's an investment. If you bought a house today and you sold it in 5 years for the same price, you're still gonna make a bunch of money because you've been able to deduct the mortgage interest of the taxes, you've got mortgage tax incentives, and at the end, you get your money back. Renting is all thrown away, right? And there's nothing like real estate in the sense that where could you go and do an investment with like 5% down, borrow someone else's money, get all the appreciation with other people's money, collect all the appreciation, give them the money back, and go, that was awesome. You know, called leverage. But what other investment can you do that? You can't really, right? There is no investment like that. And there is no investment that's better than tax-free. So if you own your property for 2 years and you're married, the first $500,000 of profit is tax-free. That is like the best deal in the world. Right? Where else are you going to do an investment where the first $500,000 of profit is tax-free? It doesn't exist. Right? And if you're not living in your house and you're renting it, you can do a tax-deferred exchange and then defer the taxes on and on and on forever if you like. There's no other investment that you can do that. Real estate is by far the best deal out there in any investment of any kind, because if you take taxes out of the equation, that's 30 to 40% return right there. And then you add appreciation onto that, right? So you have a hard time convincing me that there's a better deal out there than real estate that generates tax-free opportunities for you, which is 40, 50% when you add appreciation. Nothing is producing that. And not only that, but you can leverage other people's money to get it. That's insane. Right? The best deal that the government gives us is in home ownership. And if you don't own your home, there's no reason that you should be investing in anything else. Because a primary homeowner living in a house for 2 years is the best deal in the world. Right? Let's see, find it for them. Know what they want, know what they need. So that's part of, again, just being educated in the market. Buyers don't want a deal. So learn the definition of a deal. Ask the questions. You know, if someone says, I want a deal, I'll be like, what does that mean? You know, what are you talking about? And find out exactly what the definition of deal is, and try to lead them to closing. I always like the closing technique of someone says, I like that house, but I'm like, well, out of, you know, a 1 to 10, how do you rank this house for you? You know, for you to buy it, and they've got a 7. I'm like, well, what is it going to take to get to a 10? And then I can kind of isolate on that 10, whatever the difference is right there, and just focus it on that. But it's a good way to kind of get people into a little corner of what is exactly that we're looking for over there. So, you know, I always use it like between 1 and 10. What do you think? You know, then I learn from them how they rank, and I also learn what it's going to take to get into a 10 to get that deal done. Easy stuff. Just common knowledge, a lot of it, right? So I think the most important thing is mindset, creating a sense of urgency by limiting the amount of inventory that the client has access to, by saying these are the in market, those out of market. Let's not worry about that. Let's just focus on these. These are going to sell. We need to look at these now. I have this great story that I can't resist telling you right now, because it's a friend of mine is a timeshare. One of the top timeshare guys at the Hyatt in the West Side. These guys are the top timeshare guys around. They're really very successful. He's the #1 guy. And he shared with me a little technique that he does with some of these difficult customers that he gets in his little office there, right? And he pulls them into the office and he says, how old are you? And they're like, yeah, I'm 60 years old. And he goes, and he writes on a piece of paper, number 15, slides it over to the guy. People look at him and they go, what is that? 15, what does that mean? He says, well, you're 60 years old. The average life of a man right now is 75 years old. You have 15 more summers in your life. What are you going to do with your next 15 things? I was like, wow. That's I heard that, I'm like, wow. Now talk about creating urgency. That's like the ultimate urgency creator. And it's an interesting, it's the truth though, because when I heard the story, immediately I was like, and I actually used it one time on a client that was really a pain in the heel, and I was like, okay, I'm using it on this guy. He can take this, right? And I told him the story of my friend. I didn't say, how old are you? You know what I mean? I said, oh my God, I have to tell you the story. My friend is a top agent at in timeshare, and this is the thing that they use, and it really freaked me out because I started doing the math and stuff. And so I told them that story, but in their mind, they were like, the same thing.
Yeah.
And they were like, dude, and he told me back the next day, like completely freaked me out. And I was like, I know, I'm freaked out too. And, but it was a really interesting, situation for me because I realized, I was like, wow, that's really pretty
Yeah.
impressive, when you think about it. But that is the truth. We're selling lifestyle right here. We're not selling investment. People come to us all the time like, oh, I want to pencil it out. I want to ROI this and stuff. No, they're buying because of lifestyle. If they're really truly interested in investment company, they could buy like a building in the ghetto and somewhere and get really great return on it. But no, they want to be here. So they have to add lifestyle to the equation when they come here, which is those right up, Jim. You can't just look at this purely as an investment. You want to be here, you want to enjoy it. There's a value to you. You have to add it in, right? But I thought that was an interesting story from the guy, but it's again, this is a class on creating urgency, and that's the most extreme case that I've ever seen. But I actually use it. And I think as agents, the two biggest qualities, in my opinion, for an agent would be patience and finesse. So finessing situations, delivering news, delivering good, bad news, whatever, being able to handle the situation, keep your people calm, keep emotion out of the deal. That's our job as an agent, is to not allow our clients to be emotional, not to be the emotional one. And I'm like, what are you doing? And so that's important, to be able to handle it. Finesse is a big part of it. And I say, I can tell anyone any story about anything and not make it feel offensive or that I'm trying to pin them down. And that's a good example of how I told that story about someone else, but you know damn well what they're thinking. Right?
Mhm.
So there's a way to deliver stuff again. Depending on the client, willing to deliver any message because after many years of doing it, I feel like I have the finesse to be able to deliver the message and not be offensive. So a big part of it is finesse. But that's a good one. It's a good one for me because we are selling lifestyle. And so if that's all you're buying and you get a certain age, do you like wait a year or two? Does that really make sense? I mean, to delay your happiness or to save a couple of bucks. And I call people out on that. I tell them straight out, I'm like, how much is it worth to you to wait a couple of years and what you save, like 20 grand or whatever, or you don't save, you pay more, but is it really worth that when what you're buying ultimately is this lifestyle that you dreamed about for your entire life and you worked your ass off for it? Do you really want to wait another year to get your lifestyle? This is your reward. And so I think I focus on lifestyle a lot in my business and make sure that people understand what they're getting. And that's what I sell too. Right? I got distracted, sorry.
No, you're not. That's
Some
good.
big decisions. Yeah, I want a fireplace. Yeah, I want a pool. Yeah, I want a large master bedroom. The cost of waiting to buy, we just kind of talked about that too. Right? Especially if you're renting, that makes no sense at all. First of all, anyone comes to me and they're renting, it's going to be not pretty because that's just crazy. It's not. There are occasions where renting does make sense if it's a timing thing, but the benefits that they give us to own a property as a primary home, as I mentioned already, is so great that it absolutely makes zero sense to rent. The market shifts quickly, man. As you notice, I don't know if you noticed, man. It just like bam was done, and just like what happened. So you never can predict it, right?
No.
So don't try and predict. Don't try and wait for something to happen. The best thing is to get in the game now and make the best deal you can. Be patient and do your homework. Because CMAs and appraisals can justify your values, although that's just a third opinion. Fear of making commitments, so that's a whole other subject. And being creative right now, I think this is the time to be creative. When everyone's sitting on the sidelines and not sure, if you're a cash buyer right now, you're really waiting to get a good deal. So I think, for me, I'm getting all my clients up for seller financing. What can they do to help buy down rates? All that kind of prepping them all now for making a deal. But there's all these people on the sidelines. I'm trying to draw them in with creativity. Right? And this is the time to be creative, and that's what you should be talking to your brokers and stuff about it. How do we do it differently? Seller financing is huge right now. That'll pull someone into the deal, because it's like, oh, that really works for me versus sitting around and waiting. I think it's a great deal. I also do co-ownership, which is grouping like 4 people together to buy a house. I do any kind of creative idea. I'm all over it, and even the people that I talk to, that don't necessarily all go for it, but they all love the idea that I'm being creative, and I'm thinking outside the box, I'm looking for solutions. Incentives and concessions. There's all kinds of options there. Buying down the rate, that's a big one right now.
Yeah.
And the rate increase is not that big of a deal. I mean, 3% versus 5-6%. Maybe you're not buying $1 million house, maybe you're buying a $900,000 house. It doesn't change anything. It just changes what you buy, right? And your affordability. It doesn't mean you're out of the market. It just means drop your price down a little bit. Facilitate decision making. Is this the how you want to buy? Ask the question too. I mean, I show a property. I never show more than like 3 properties at a time. And every property that I go into, I show at the end of the property, I'm like, do you want to buy this house? Can you see yourself living here? Are you interested? And they'll be like, oh no. And then I'll be like, well, 1 to 10, where are you? And just try to get a good sense of it. We're not doing this for fun. But most people are afraid to ask for the check and ask them, do you like this house and would you buy it? Can you see yourself living here? It took me a long time to throw it out there. But they appreciate that too. I mean, I think buyers, they want to be organized. They want to feel like you're doing your job. And I think the questions are great.
Can you go back one slide real quick?
Excuse me?
Can you go back one slide real quick?
Sure. You can buy out renters. You can pay the mortgage for a period of time. There's all kinds of stuff you can do to get people into deals. But those are the things that will kind of get someone off into the game, versus waiting on the sideline. I still like to how many 15 years left, 15 summers left. That's my favorite. Good houses sell fast. So again, if you identify the in market versus out market, you go, yeah, the house is going to sell. Which one you want? Which one you're going to go look at? How would you feel if someone else bought this house tomorrow? The bottom line. So this is like a summary, right? Be an expert, educate your buyers, articulate why it's a good time to buy, and the benefits of owning real estate. Reduce buyer fears, create the best buy list, show them how that meets their needs and wants. Don't show them crap, and then facilitate the decision to buy the house. Does that make sense? You can do an action plan on your own time, probably. But again, I think to me, I go all the way to the very beginning, which is mindset, and getting your mindset right, knowing who you are, what you're trying to do, setting your plan with the highest probability of success, and then just sticking with that plan. And that's all you got to do. If someone comes up to you and says, hey, I want to go look at a house here, grab you in your car, and you do all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about how you market yourself, how you brand yourself. You have to be hyper-focused on what you're trying to do, and have a goal with a specific plan, and just drill. Everyone that's met with me will know that all I talk about is hyper-focus. And I don't take on very much every year. I focus on one neighborhood per year, and I just farm that neighborhood. I contact them, I email them, I mail them, I do postcards, everything, just to that one little group of people. It could be like 800 people per year. That's all I do. I don't do any marketing, any buyer lead generation. I just farm for listings in this one neighborhood every year. That's all I do. I get other listings and stuff, but you get traction with branding if you focus on the community. You can't get traction with branding when you focus on, like, I'm going to be an expert in West Maui luxury. No, I'm not going to be. It's going to take 30 years. Right? What you're going to do is you're going to go in, you're going to pick a neighborhood, you're going to target that neighborhood, you're going to just market the heck out of it, create a website for them, even give them value, give them all the sales, everything about that neighborhood that's ever existed or happened, and then send it to that, show them that you're the expert, and you get those listings, win that neighborhood, and then you can worry about bigger and better things. But until you've had that first win, you're never going to get to that big level. You look at all of the successful agents, they all focused on one little niche before they became successful, and that catapulted them into the success. So you got to find where is that first wing going to be for you guys. What location, what niche are you going to pick that you're going to obsess about. And if you're not obsessed, you have the wrong priorities, right? Or you haven't figured out your priorities. You need to figure out that niche that you're going to obsess about, and you're going to win it over. And then once you win that niche, bam, you're going to be home free. You'll be able to take others down. To this day, I've been farming for 25 years. And I started in Kahului, so I worked, and I just religiously, all I did for the first 10 years of my life was I lived and breathed and marketed and farmed Kahului. And it wasn't by design, it was the company I worked for required that. But it turned out to be the formula that we need. You need to dominate to win a market. It could be a small little neighborhood, it could be one building. Bob Cartwright is probably the most famous case of this. And all he did for 30 years was farm the whaler, the Ali'i, Kahului Shores in Mahana. That's all he did when he had a client for Kahului. He'd call me up and go, "Where is Cook Pond Drive?" I have no idea. He had no idea. But all he did was those 4 buildings. And he dominated the buildings to this day. If you lived there 30 years, you'd be getting something in the mail from every month. And so what happened was with Bob is that he ended up dominating the entire Kahului market. All of the Vintage, the Pinnacle, the Summit, Lani Fair, all those communities up in Kahului, he brokered every one of them because he became known as the Kahului expert from his dominating those 3 buildings. Right? Then he went on and created his business out of winning those 3 buildings. And for me today, I'd like to expand my markets. I started in Kahului. I got a listing in Kihei, not too long ago, Oceanfront. And the person that I met was like, "Yeah, you're the guy from Kahului that sells those expensive homes." So 25 years later, I'm still leveraging my original farm effort from 25 years ago. I'm still getting success from that farm. Right? So there's no other way to do it, in my opinion. You have to win something before you can get to the big win. My challenge to you would be identify a niche. We can meet anytime. I can show you how to do it. What to do, because for me, it's not just farming, sending data. For me, it's if I target a community, I build a website for that community. I get all the sales in the community, every floor plan, every scrub in there for everything, put on that site and go, check out this site. This is your site. And it has value for you. And they'll eventually kind of just from enough farming and getting into that site, you'll win a vote. But you have to have value. And to me, it's websites, it's information, giving them the stuff they want to hear. Because when a person, the reason people scroll through so many websites is because they're looking for specific information and they're scrolling because they don't see it. Most websites are just like a real estate website, it's like a search bar. It's not what they're looking for, that's Zillow, right? So they're looking for something in their neighborhood. They're looking for specific things. So for me, go provide them the value of the specific thing that someone in that community would want, which would be for me, every sale since 1970, every, whatever you can find. Every bit of information. No one has sales information on their website because they try to cast your net so wide. So for me, when I send a farm letter to a neighborhood, they'll go to that site and they'll go like, "This guy's an expert in this neighborhood. There's everything about a neighborhood." And there's a site that's named ourneighborhood.com. You know what I mean? And so they go there and they go, "Wow, this is good." Next time they'll be thinking about selling or what's value is that, they'll go to that site because they know there's sales in there. They're not going to have to scroll through 50 sites trying to figure it out. And eventually you'll win them by providing value. And you get listings. Once you get one listing, you get more. But it's just, in my opinion, I've seen it a million times. I've been doing it for a long time. And I think that's what I did. What took me 20 years can be done in 5 years today. So you got to be really lucky that you work with a great company because so much education and so much knowledge and people that have already done it out there that there's no need for you to go do the 20-year program that I did. Because no one ever helped me. I was in real estate in the time where when I first started, the brokers weren't allowed to help us because we could have construed it as being an employee versus an independent contractor. There's really a deal going on, So I'd go to my brokers like, "I can't answer, sorry." So we kind of waited and it took a long time, but as I say now, we don't have to wait it. So the playbook is written already, they're amazing at education. And then you got people out there that have been doing this for a long time that can do good direction. The culture of Keller is very great. And I'm happy to help you guys anytime. With that plan, as long as it's a plan to be hyper focused on something that you're going to go win so you can get to bigger and greater things. But just fumbling along is not something that I want to be a part of. You need to be focused and targeted. And there is a way to do it. It's a 5-year program. Don't do the 20-year program. Wait, was I on the script here or something like that? My action plan. I think you guys can do an action plan. I think it's in the thing there. It's pretty simple. I think you know what you need to do. I'm happy to answer any questions with you guys. Want, but I think how are we doing on time?
Great.
Is it an hour?
Yeah.
Okay, good. it's a fun business. I love it. I've been doing it for 25 plus years and I can't wait to get to work every night. I love it. I've got to every convention. And I would say in the last 5 years, I've done a 100% change in everything that I do. I'm continually trying to educate myself. When I came to this company 5 years ago, I thought I knew it all. Turned out I knew nothing. And so I changed everything, started all over again. And I was stuck at 25 million when I joined the company. And then I went from 25 to 32 to 60 to 80 million for years. And 100% subscribing to these theories of how to do this stuff. I just sit and learn and listen to everyone. And they just showed me the way. So listen up.
Right on.
But listen to Sasha, don't listen to me. I'm a bad influence. There's margaritas in my classes.
I missed
Do you
that.
have any questions? Gotta be something. Questions about your existing businesses, or anything that's just on your mind.
I have a question on your farming.
Excuse me?
I have a question on your farming.
Yeah.
So you're sending emails, you're calling.
Yeah, I don't call very, actually don't call very much, though, so it's one thing I don't do. But most of my target market is scattered around the world. Yeah, none of the clients that I'm targeting are actually living that in. I can't knock on doors, hard for me to call, but I can get email addresses and I can mail stuff. And it's just consistency and the quality of what you present is really.
Would you get that from a title company, right?
So I get the addresses from the title company. Actually, the title companies now, if you talk to First Hawaii Title, they have a young girl named Erica. She's a new marketing rep. I'm actually working with her right now, but she can actually take a database and dump it into a system and grab all the email addresses and all the information that you don't have about people. It's a really interesting thing. Yeah, they scrub the internet for emails that match the names.
Which title company?
Excuse me?
Title.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I think you have to grab them all and try. I don't have any, so anything's good. If it don't work, then I just choose them. But you can do that. Erica is with First Hawaii Power, which is a relationship with that company. And so she is getting me right now email addresses for my farm, which I don't have.
Okay.
I have some, but not all.
So are you touching twice a month? Are you touching?
No more than once a month, 45 days, yeah. But I've been doing it consistently for years and years and years.
So you send postcards and emails
Postcards.
or just?
So 1 month would be a postcard, 1 month would be a letter, market updates, new listing, just to kind of try to come up with different stuff. I mean, it's everything from like, I just sent out one that was a Keller mortgage. Okay, I can get you a mortgage at a rate that will outcompete anyone else because Keller Williams subsidizes Keller Mortgage to make sure that we have an unfair advantage over our competition to make sure you get a better deal. That's a farm, And there's all kinds of stuff out there that you can use. And Keller Williams said, if you really think about it, the key is, I think, to teach any brand is actually using it. I talk to people all the time, like, I don't like this brand. I'm like, well, what did you do? Well, nothing. Well, yeah, good. But if you're purposeful about it, there's so much information, there's so much available. I go to all the conferences, I meet people. I've been really purposeful about trying to build a network around the country. And in 4 years, I have this amazing group of people that I formed like lifelong friendships with. All around the country, all top producers. I'm getting like half of my deals are referrals from Keller Williams right now. Yeah, this year. So that's pretty big for me. Yeah, I got $13 million listing with a referral, and the last 3 deals were referrals.
So on your neighborhood website, that's a part
Sorry,
of
back to your question.
That's okay. I'm just trying to wrap my head around all the elements of your farm. So you've got the neighborhood website, you've got the direct mail, you've got the email campaign. On the website, you're setting that up. Did you set it up yourself or did you hire an outside?
Yes, I have someone that does it, but what I've been doing is I've been taking the free Keller Williams template website. That's all free to all of us, we all have one, and I customize that with photographs of the neighborhoods that I'm focusing on. So when you go to the website, it's pictures of whatever I'm trying to couple up. And I use that for 1 year. I use my Keller Williams template website for 1 year. Because people that call me up and go, oh my God, your website's amazing. I'm like, free. Free template, but it's not the website, it's the pictures.
What's the address? Maybe we take a look.
So right now I'm actually working on one that it's kind of like, I change them as I go. But So my newest type of focus for this year is going to be, what I'm doing is I'm targeting over $10 million properties only this year, which is kind of a weird thing. And so what I've done is I'm creating a site that we call the Hawaii Trophy Collection, and it just targets 10 million plus only, and it's all around the state. So I've got the database of all the $10 million existing homes of people that own homes here. So I've got that database, and then I'm lead generating in the mainland with what they call geo belting. I don't know if you've heard about it. The geo belting, you guys can go in and they put a belt basically around a neighborhood, a community. They can even go as specific as like Bel Air Country Club and put a belt around Bel Air Country Club. And then anyone that comes into that zone goes onto the website and opens an app. It could be a weather app, it could be anything. As soon as they open that app, you get the iPhone ID again, and I can target those people with ads on their apps and all that kind of stuff. So that's just like super high, like
Then you pay
Hills,
for it.
Rolls Royce.
Then you pay for it.
I pay for that.
Yeah.
So that's not cheap. You don't have to do that.
That's not-
That's just my program for this year. Typically, I'll target a neighborhood, and I will get all the addresses, I get all the pictures, I get all the sales, I get all the information. I put them all in, and my key to all of the things I'm doing, whether it be e-blast, letter, or postcard, will be to get into that site to show them that I'm an expert on that neighborhood. Because every person that sends out a farm letter today or receives a farm letter, they generally don't pick up the phone and call, but then what they will do is they'll go to the site and they'll check and they'll be like, "Whoa, you're not an expert on my neighborhood. There's nothing even there," right? So you got to kind of provide the value. Farming is not enough to just send letters out. Not enough to just send letters out. You have to back it up with value. So you can do landing pages. So even if you had a website, you could do a landing page, specifically, the whaler typology, and then people would go directly to that. But ultimately, you have to provide value. You can't just farm with nothing to back it up. Farming is not sending out a postcard to random strangers. It's farming to get them to go somewhere, ideally to your site. And if your site doesn't have information specific to that area, then you create a landing page that is specific to that property. But without that backup, farming is kind of worthless. Either commit to it or not. That's my thing. You gotta be obsessive about it. You gotta be all in. You gotta do whatever it takes. You gotta find a program that you're willing to do whatever it takes to get it done. That's your niche, and you just commit to that. Don't do anything else. I mean, I still, as I say, if someone calls me up and wants to go look at real estate, I'm in my phone and showing them. I'm talking about where you spend your resources, where you brand yourself, and where you market. Right? So I'm not saying that's the only thing you can do. I'm just saying that's where you want to market, brand yourself. Because if you create a small little niche market, they'll get to know you eventually if they've seen the picture enough times. So you can get branded in small groups very easily, where it's really hard to brand yourself in Maui. There's so many people doing it. So you got to get that first win. It could be Maui Lani, it could be whatever. And I think question.
3 things you would have liked someone to tell you 25 years ago.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. For sure, get your database in order, which I wish I had gotten my act together early with the database. There's a lot of people that are contacting that I have no idea. 3. Listen more. Shut up. And I wish I had been as hyper focused as I'm telling you guys. More hyper focused than I had, and more knowledge around how to scale the business. You don't scale up by going bigger. You scale up by going deeper, right? Smaller, but not just smaller, but deeper. And that's how and then you scale from there. Right? You leverage that success and that win to the next one. But it takes 20 years to do it if you're just not focused. It takes 5 years to do it. You start with focus and leverage from there. And if I think don't quote on those years, but I've seen it happen like that. I see my own life and I see how people do it, and I see how people that coach can do it so quickly. But the Keller is famous for coaching people into great success like that. If you go to Mega Camp, I thought it was pretty good, so I got there and being so humble in my life. Well, I'm like a nobody, And the numbers that these people are producing is ridiculous. There's one guy that will be at the Oahu and the Elite Week that's coming up. His team closed 1.2 billion last year. I mean, the numbers are just so huge. it's mind blowing to know what the potential is, and the people that are doing it, people that are willing to share and teach you how to do it. So my theory is you just pick what you want to do, and we can make it happen for you. You know, you just have to have the clear focus on who you are and what you're trying to do, and then it's your plan that has the highest probability of success, and you just stick with that plan. And it's hyper focus. And I say it's kind of scary for me because my coach pushed me in the direction. He said my goal is to get to 100 million. And I'm like, oh, the market's cooling off. There's no way. What am I going to do? She's like, that's easy. Just do $10 million deals. And I was like, okay, that sounds easy. And she's like, no, seriously, why don't you just farm and target and brand in that market? You might get $5 to $8 million listings, but that's okay. But it's all about branding. It's not, you know, it's about having success in the market, but branding is so important in order to grow your business that people don't know who you are. That's it. And you can't do that on a big scale. That's the hyper focus that I think is the key to success in the business. Any questions, Bonnie? She has a question. Bonnie and I have partnered on many deals together, so I'm going to give it a hard time.
Yeah, it's great to work with.
I'd love to catch up with you guys. If any of you want to, schedule a time to come and meet and talk about what you're into, how you're going to focus in, or how you're going to become a huge success. Be happy to help.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you.
Our featured guest on September 19th, Company Huddle, some exciting opportunities he's going to share with us regarding another company he's working with that I'm super excited to hear about.
Thank you.
So I know Company Huddle is coming Monday, Labor Day. But have fun. Yeah. Thank you. Tina.
Margarita.
Yeah.
All right. Great.
Thank
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Dean. Oh, oh my gosh.
Next Friday, 12 o'clock. No shit.
You're fast and stuff.
Okay.
I've got.
Inspired me on the side.
Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah. No. Yeah. I'm sorry, excuse me. No, what I'm saying is that. Yeah. Like, your thing is.
Oh, right.
Facebook, it's like, I was being like, Monday morning. They have a live call early. Go on if you know. All these things what they're doing right now. It's
Creative idea, but let's be talking about it here, right?
Yeah.
Oh, don't have the, I have, what's the font size? What's that calculating? Facebook, but, I don't, I'm not being Facebook person, but maybe it's on Facebook page or whatever. And then all of a sudden, it shows up, whatever you're looking at. It says the updates. And it's on one of my groups now. But, anyway, it's like 38. So that's all I know. I would. Just the motor runner.
Yeah.
And they just stop for like years. They're all saying the same thing. And that's right. So, yeah. You know, when I did it online, I was a salary. And then when you did this, it was like, they didn't have to and but
I know.
It's simple. Yeah.
Everyone knows her.